Matters of faith taking center stage this week as the Pope comes to New York.
And it is not just believers who are looking for some answers. Here's Ben SIMMONEAU with Fox Doc Report.
So maybe the universe started with the Big Bang. Who started the Big Bang?
The fact that we're asking these questions is not some sort of affront to God.
In the highest echelons of science, they're asking big questions. It's not settled.
Why? It's a question humans have been asking for millennia. Why are we here? Did it just happen, or was there something else involved? A higher power, perhaps. A belief in a creator is the bedrock principle for billions of people around the world. But does it make sense? Is it compatible with science in the 21st century? Well, some people, including Pope Francis, say yes, it is. Science and faith go hand in hand.
I thought that I was hearing a voice that was not my own.
That's not something you hear every day.
It was pretty strong.
But ask a person of strong faith and chances are they can tell you why. At least why they are here.
Jeremiah 29 and 11 says that God knows the plans that he has for our lives.
God saved both of us in order to build bridges.
Rabbi Arthur Schneier knew for sure in 2008 when Pope Benedict walked into his synagogue during his New York visit. A German pope visiting the temple of a Holocaust survivor.
One has to accept the fact that this world was created by a creator who gave man and woman freedom of choice.
People are hungry to know, is faith crazy or is there something to it?
Welcome to the Eric Metaxas Show.
Faith is not crazy, says New York-based radio host and best-selling author Eric Metaxas. And it does not have to be at odds with scientific fact either.
We've all kind of bought into this false narrative that science is pitted against faith. Complete nonsense. I mean, complete, total, demonstrable nonsense. Faith versus science narrative it's truly ridiculous. I mean, you don't even have to spend 3 minutes looking into it because there are tons of scientists who are serious people of faith.
If I talk about God, I always want to talk about God for people who maybe don't believe in God.
Metaxas wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last Christmas on science and faith, and it took off, becoming one of the most shared articles ever in that paper.
What it shows to me is that there is a hunger in America for this kind of thing. Nobody's feeding the hunger. In other words, everybody has the basic questions. Who am I? Is there a God? What can science tell me? Let's understand that the scientific facts, instead of pushing us away from believing in God, the more we know in the last 40 years, it's pushing us toward believing in a higher power.
Metaxas spent a lot of time researching this topic for his recent book, Miracles. But it was not as tough as he thought it might be.
I do think that the more you know about science, the more you realize that in the highest echelons of science, they're asking big questions. It's not settled.
Take that fundamental question, why are we here? When you consider all that had to happen for humans to evolve the way we did on a life-supporting planet like Earth, the scientific odds, Metaxas says, are steep.
When you look at the math, when you look at the science, the odds of our existence are staggering. When you look at all the facts, it seems pretty clear that it couldn't have just happened.
While Pope Francis would likely agree with that, he also made news for endorsing both the Big Bang Theory and evolution. He says they do not contradict the existence of a higher power.
As a man of science, I think that he's shown a great deal of respect for the role of science in society.
Kyle CRANMER worked on the project which, after decades of searching, finally discovered the so-called God particle.
This particle is key to the universe. If it didn't exist, atoms wouldn't form. There would be no life. There would be no stars. I mean, this thing is definitely an important key to how the universe works.
But if you're looking at the God particle for proof of God, keep looking. Scientists call it the Higgs boson. It's believed to be responsible for giving particles mass. At the subatomic level, the universe adheres to strict laws of symmetry. Yet there's a flaw in those laws. In fact, most of what we find interesting in this world, like us, results from a break in that symmetry. Why? Well, it's believed to be because of this tiny, invisible particle.
This kind of particle, I doubt, is ever going to have any practical application. However, it's part of understanding the rules of the game, understanding how the universe works.
To find it, scientists in Switzerland had to fling protons at each other at the speed of light. When they collided, the enormous energy produced ignited the production of new particles and new collisions. The Higgs boson decays immediately, but by taking 40 million snapshots a second, scientists were able to glimpse this God particle. It was first called that by physicist Leon Letterman in a 1993 book. The God particle. What do you think of that name?
I have mixed feelings. I mean, it was clearly titled that to sell books, and it worked. They've sold a lot of books. It's also been very good about capturing the public's attention. People know this name, and I think it's important in terms of science communication to have a catchy name.
It helps too, he says, to have a big-name science supporter like Pope Francis, who, by the way, is a trained chemist. The Pope also made sure this year to cite science in a paper denouncing the human role in climate change.
Stepping back from the issues is just a respect for the scientific process and for human intellect, and the fact that we're asking these questions is not some sort of affront to God, but is a part of human progress and making ourselves better.
So maybe the universe started with the Big Bang. Who started the Big Bang?
This is not where Reverend Canon Victoria Sirota expected to find herself as the pastor and vicar of the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine.
I'm an intellectual, so I was taught to be skeptical.
Her life, she had a doctorate in music and was teaching, changed in a day.
For me, I had a powerful mystical experience on February 12, 1987.
She says her father-in-law was dying, young. She prayed for help.
2 weeks after I had gotten down on my knees and cried and prayed for the first time in years, then I felt like I was being given a message to give to somebody else, and that message came true 6 months later was a great shock to me. I had to struggle with the fact that I felt God was calling me to ordained ministry, and I didn't want to do it.
It would mean more schooling, a life change, not an easy choice, married with 2 children.
I say we have a funny idea of what God should do and be. We are projecting a God who micromanages everything. There is good and there is evil, and we have a choice every day about what path we take.
But she did it. Doors started to open, and she says her life fell into place.
Certainly you have days when you wonder, why is this happening, or why did that go this way?
At Yale, the Reverend Lawrence Akers studied alongside some of the brightest minds in science.
We won't have all the answers. There's a passage in Deuteronomy where it says that God holds mysteries to himself.
While faith is not a science, Reverend Sirota says she does know one thing as fact.
Our final existence is not just to be here. It is a greater thing.
Ben SIMMONEAU, Fox 5 News.
Well, if you'd like to read Eric's article that Ben mentioned, we've got a link on our website, so all you need to do is go to our YouTube page to hear why he says his article has struck such a nerve with so many.
Very interesting stuff.